Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for this week's Unfiltered News from the Reality Zone, compiled by g.edward with his News Scouts. And it seems to be for the week of May 12th through the 18th of 2012. This week, comic strip is I Love the Ancient Greek Ruins. This was a bank yesterday. Alright. Speaking of criminal activity going on, here's the next criminal activity headlines for this week. Starting with this one. Chicago prepares for NATO meeting this weekend by making a huge show of force. Police are raiding the homes of activists without warrants and arresting them without charges. Nurses are calling for a Robin Hood tax on financial transactions to pay for health care, social services, and their pensions. Anti-war protests are planned. Fox News, May 18th. Obama is proposing a public-private partnership. That's right. To help the poor African farmers improve crop yields and improve their standard of living. So much for the propaganda. The real plan is to funnel tax dollars to African countries on condition that they purchase GMO seeds and chemical fertilizers from politically favored agri firms and have influence in that do have the influence in Washington, such as Monsanto, DuPont, and Cargill. The result will be 1. Poor African farmers will be dependent on patented products from those companies. 2. They will have poorer crop yields in the long run. And 3. They will end up even poorer than they are now. Christian Science Monitor, May 18th. Look at India, what they did with them. They commit suicide, the farmers, when their crops failed. From Monsanto's seeds and fertilizers, from DuPont and others. The Romney fraction of the Nevada Republican Party has lost out to the Ron Paul fraction. Instead of accepting reality, they are planning to form a new party. Call it Republican and ask the national Republican leaders to recognize it as the official Nevada Party, thereby disenfranchising the Ron Paul majority. Since the national Republican leadership is committed to Romney, the plan could work. Libertarian Examiner, May 17th. Yeah, they're going to call it the Shadow Party, or whatever that means. Kind of like what they're into, shadow governments. Obama defends J.P. Morgan and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, but fails to disclose that he received $808,799 in campaign funds from the banks in 2008 for his election. So I wonder he's out saying how great J.P. Morgan is, even though they're going down the tubes right now. Occupy Corporation, May 17th. He's got money invested in there, a few $1 million, I think, about 9 altogether. Obama, Mama. U.S. An unmanned spy plane, either a military or police drone, nearly caused a mid-air collision above the Denver airport last week. Congress is preparing to put an estimated 30,000 similar drones above America by 2020. InfoWars, May 17th. Yeah, that's what you need, is a bunch of drones up there that the GPS systems on there don't work right. And every once in a while, these things get a wild hair up their ass, and they go off on their own. And that's what happened with this one, supposedly. Yeah, they don't have the system set up good enough to be running around while we have commercial jets flying around. They're meant for military zones only. Oh, I forgot. We are a military zone. Now, U.S. federal judge blocks indefinite detention of Americans under the National Defense Authorization Act because the scope of conduct that could subject citizens to the law is undefined. This is good because it temporarily blocks arbitrary enforcement of the law, but it is worrisome because it leaves the door open for the government to define the scope of conduct in such terms as to sound reassuring, but which, in reality, can be interpreted to include any activity of which the government disapproves. We shall see how this pans out. Reuters, May 16th. Shareholders sue J.P. Morgan and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, for fraud. Fox Business, May 16th. Where I said shareholders are suing J.P. Morgan. And so they had Obama come out and say, oh, there's nothing wrong with them. They're great. Keep your money in with them. Sure. They deserve to fall. No bank is too big to fall. No stock. No anything. We sure let it done that back in 2008. 2007 we should have had this done. But no, we had to bail them out and bail them out for their gambling failures. That's basically what the stock market is gambling. And we just bailed them out from their gambling losses. Anyways, a $1 billion bank run is underway in Greece. Good for the Greece. They're getting smart. They're pouring the money out until somebody fixes it. This is on top of the $90 billion already pulled out of the bank since 2010. Worried depositors anticipate a complete banking collapse after the June elections that possibly will approve withdrawal from the EU. So they're scared of that. New American, May 15. Iran. Man is hung after being convicted of being the Israeli agent who assassinated an Iranian nuclear scientist. Yahoo, May 15th. Yeah, the problem that people don't know, because the mainstream media won't tell you, is that the nuclear reactors they got over there were built by the Chinese and the Russians, and they know exactly how those things work, and they know what they can do and can't do. They can't make nuclear fuel for weapons, supposedly. California, San Onofre nuclear plant has been shut down due to the unexpected vibrations when the steam generators are run at full capacity. Edison, the utility providers, wants to run the plant at a reduced level to bypass the problem, but nuclear expert Arnie Gunderson says the only safe solution is to replace the steam generators completely. The cost for that would be over $800 million, so the issue will be greatly debated. LA Times, May 15th. Yeah, the money junkies don't want to spend $800 million to fix something that may go critical and kill millions. Oh well, that's the money junkies. Hooked on money like heroin addicts. U.S. Ron Paul announced he cannot afford to complete in-state primary elections or compete in the state primary elections and is shifting his entire focus to gathering delegates for the GOP nominating convention. This has never been done before, but it is working, and it may well turn the Republican Party on its head. Doug Wade, I think it is, May 14th. Again, U.S. after public anger over a provision in the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, that allows indefinite detention of American citizens without accusation or trial, Congress has paraded a new version that's supposed to overcome this danger. Well, however, a close reading of the bill reveals that nothing has changed except the addition of assuring phrases without substance. It proves that those who drafted this bill are using deliberate deception. Yeah, they're trying to lie to everyone, make it feel like it's an okay thing now. It's okay. See, pass this one. And it's the same bill. New American, May 14th. J.P. Morgan's derivative losses now are reported at $3 billion. Some of the traders will lose their jobs. CEO Jamie Dimon has been asked to resign from his position on the board of the New York Federal Reserve. Yay, we should have a celebration on that. Yahoo, May 14th. The U.S. Federal Department of Interior now is claiming ownership of all water in the western states. This would supersede states' water rights that were declared by the Supreme Court decades ago. If the feds get control of the water, they will control the food and all related economic development as well, which is their goal. WorldNet Daily, May 14th. Yeah, and you should hear what they did in Tucson. In Tucson, they had a landslide from flooding, and it took out all their... I think they had four water pipes, or at least 3 of them, that ran down from the springs in the mountains. And they went up there and started fixing. They had two of them fixed. I think there was four, I think, and they had two of them fixed, and suddenly the green police come up there, the tree-hugging Park Service, and says, you can't do that. You're using advanced equipment. You know what they had? A wheelbarrow. That's advanced equipment to these people. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And, you know, Tombstone's not going to have any water. They're going to be down to half the water they normally have. U.S. former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger gets a full Monty pat-down from the TSA. Yes, he did. This is not a terribly important news story, but the article says that the TSA agents did not know who Kissinger was, implying that if they had known, he would not have been searched. Oh, really? But congressmen like Rand Paul and people and news media like Gerardo can be groped, but oh no, not a god like Kissinger. Oh no, CBS, May 14th. That's what they just said. It's the fact. New psychiatric diagnosis manual includes new mental diseases that set the stage for increased medication of the population. 2/3 of the manual authors have financial ties to the drug companies. Of course, the money junkies. New American, May 13th. That's right. They're starting to sell their drugs over the counter that used to be prescription, are now being transferred to be sold over the counter because they're not getting enough money anymore. The money junkies. Well, if they didn't take everyone's jobs away and let the government get away with that, then by bailing out corruption, then we would all still have a job and everything. You know, if that money was actually given to us, we would all been happy. We've been all building businesses and investing in them, and they just don't want that. They're shutting us down. That's why they have a NATO meeting. Mexico, 49 beheaded bodies were found on highway near U.S. border. This is the product of the ongoing war on drugs that has cost 50,000 lives since 2006. Headlines like this would disappear almost overnight if drugs were decriminalized, because that would eliminate the profit connected with smuggling. Drug cartels and police who combat them both derive huge cash flows from the conflict, which is why the war goes on and on and on and on and on. Guardian, May 13. California's current budget shortfall is a $16 billion. And after doubling in just 4 months, Governor Brown proposes higher taxes and reduced public school funding. That's right. They can't do anything. They're going broke. But this is what they're trying to do. Daily Mail, May 13th. The next story. California's politicians and politically connected construction firms are proposing a bullet train between L.A. and San Francisco. Isn't that just wonderful? Although there is no strong public demand for such, it would cost taxpayers over $6 billion and gobble up $3.5 million per day. This is in a state that has a budget deficit in the red of $16 billion and is hopelessly bankrupt. L.A. Times, May 13th. Imagine that. They want to still put a bullet train in between L.A. and San Francisco. Unbelievable. They just don't have a grip on reality. Video. U.S. tourists in Europe discovered that cars there can get up to 77 miles per gallon, based on the imperial gallon, and the U.S. gallon equivalent would be 58 miles per gallon, but are banned in the U.S. because the reduction in fuel consumption would reduce federal fuel taxes. Is this for real? You be the judge. YouTube, May 12th. U.S. The EPA is grossly understating the toxicity of Coexit, the dispersant used in the Gulf of Mexico oil spill. The EPA's own data on Coexit prior to the spill showed that it is lethal to marine life at low levels. Now the same agency is saying it is only mildly toxic. That's right. Next they'll be saying it's nutritious and you should be drinking glasses of this every day. Natural Society, May 12th. Man, they're just insane. It's just like the radiation from Fukushima. They're saying, that won't hurt you. We'll just raise the level up and it won't bother you. You'll be great. You'll feel good. Yeah, you will, as you're getting radiation sickness and dying. Video. Tennessee police literally commit highway robbery. That's right, they're highwaymen now. When they pull over an out-of-state vehicles and steal people's cash. All they have to say is that they suspect it is drug money. Out-of-state victims often find it easier to let them keep it than to travel long distances to attend endless court hearings. It's called policing for profit. News Channel 5 reported this, and they had the guy on there that pulled this guy over and took his $10,000. He was going to buy a vehicle upstate, and he was passing through the state, through Tennessee. And they said, well, we think that's drug money, and he confiscated it from him. And he had to fight for several weeks before he could get his and drive back and forth to go through his trials and stuff to get his money back. They wrote him a check, and he says he's never going back through Tennessee again. And the guy that they interviewed, that the police officer pulled him over, thought it was okay. It's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take money from people if they have too much, because they're probably doing something illegal. And then they said they looked up his record, and they said that he had a cocaine violation or something of doing cocaine. He did he actually wasn't guilty of it, but it was kept in the record. So when these police looked it up, they go, "Oh, that's what he is. He's a drug addict. We're going to keep that $10,000 now. It's ours." And no, it wasn't. He got a lawyer to beat up on their lawyers and got it back, and said, "You guys are just stupid." And he's not never coming back through Tennessee again as long as they got that going. Harvard University is being sued because its scientists falsified data that is 15 million federally funded Alzheimer's study. The evidence points to profound scientific fraud to satisfy commercial interest. That's right, something to sell a placebo drug and say, here, this will take care of your Alzheimer's. Costs, a couple $100 a tablet, but you can afford that, can't you, people? Insurance will pay most of that. OMSJ posted May 12th. I mean, that's the type of criminal activity these people do. U.S. Senator John Kerry, I've got him on mine too. U.S. Senator John Kerry is pushing the UN Law of the Sea Treaty that will further restrict U.S. sovereignty and also redistribute American wealth to other nations. Senator Jim DeMint is trying to block ratification, but has secured only 24 of the necessary 34 endorsements needed to scuttle the treaty. CNS News, May 12th. That's right. An enemy to our country, Senator John Kerry. He wants the UN to run our country. He must be getting a good kickback on maybe a promise of a position in the UN Council. Yeah, that's what it has to be. You guys just don't do this for nothing out of the kindness. Oh no, he's a worshiper of world government. Video, Japan nuclear expert Arnie Gunderson says that Japan and the rest of the world are moving too slowly on the problem of containing nuclear fuel pools at the Fukushima site, which is an accident waiting to happen from an earthquake. We do not share Gunderson's optimism about smart grids and the wind power, but we think his information about the problems with the present methods of nuclear containment in the event of accidents is extremely important. E&E News, May 13th. Video, Tom Woods explains how Teddy Roosevelt, as President of the United States, helped to destroy the nation's constitutionality limited form of government, and why he was considered insane by Mark Twain. YouTube, May 7. That's right. It started with Teddy taking away, or making big government, I guess, and taking away our rights at the same time. Oh, man. U.S. Department of Justice recently has filed criminal charges against hundreds of ordinary Americans for financial fraud, but no one from the largest banks and firms on Wall Street have been similarly charged for events leading to the financial crisis. Could that be because top Department of Justice officials have come from the same banks being investigated? It might be. That's a good question, isn't it? See, they're untouchables. That's what that movie was about. Forbes, May 7th. Video, House of Numbers. Here's a documentary that challenges the common view about HIV and AIDS. Be prepared to learn that HIV testing is bunk. The AIDS statistic are manipulated to justify funding for AIDS program. 3. The most common AIDS drugs are deadly even to healthy people. 4. HIV has never been seen under a microscope and is entirely theoretical and might not even exist. This is a blockbuster. YouTube, May 3rd. I guess I'm just about, I'm at the very end. Article of interest, this was on last week's show too. Former Federal Reserve attorney explains that banks do not lend their own money or even money from depositors, but merely creates new money as a bookkeeping entry. They do this by convincing or converting a promise to pay into checkbooks money and then loaning it to the borrower. The fact lies at the center of the controversy over banks foreclosing on mortgages when in fact they never lent any of their own money at all in the first place. You'll want to be informed on this issue, and this is an Unfiltered News article, May 3rd. And I'll add on one more story that didn't get caught by the reality zone in Unfiltered News. Is a guy up in Maine, I guess it was, it was a park and a farm, a dairy farm, and he sold ice cream. I mean, real good ice cream and everything. And no, it wasn't the green police after him this time or for anything. It was the actual, the permit office was after him for doing upgrades to make the place more better looking and to him safer for the public. And it's made from an old barn, so he was putting on and building some extra space and everything. And they come there and say, hey, we're not going to let you do this. You didn't pay for a permit. He goes, well, wait a second. I've never had to have a permit for 26 years. He's like 57 years old. He says, for 26 years I've been doing these upgrades, and I never had to have a permit. And then suddenly you guys come along and say, I have to have a permit. And then they sat there and they had guards, I mean literal guards, outside the door turning customers away on Friday before Mother's Day weekend, where he gets his biggest business. And it was one of the biggest business days he gets, besides maybe the 4th of July. But they were turning him away, and he says, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep the farm open now, the park, because these people are I have to use this money I sell this ice cream as a subsidy for the rest of the farm. I mean, he grows corn and everything, but he doesn't grow it for profit. He grows it for showing kids that come there on tours and stuff how a farm works. He shows you how dairy farms work, how small ones work at least, because it's not a real big production farm. That's why he's, and I don't know, it's just crazy. These more money junkies. Somebody saw that he didn't get a permit, and it must be a young buck that didn't know any better, and now it's all a big issue up there. Yep, money junkies are destroying the states and the country. Until next time, this is Spellbuyer saying have a wonderful weekend and a marvelous day. Until next time, be good at it, and good day.